At my husband's funeral, my daughter-in-law leaned over the casket and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Finally. Took him long enough to die." People gasped. She turned to me. "No offense, but we've been waiting for this for years. When do we get the life insurance?" My husband had been gone for 10 minutes. His body still warm. I stood there in black, speechless. She pulled out her phone. "I already called the insurance company. They said $500,000. When can we expect the check?" The funeral director looked horrified. I took a breath. "There is no life insurance." Her face fell. "What?" I continued quietly. "My husband canceled it 6 months ago when he overheard you telling your sister you hoped he'd die soon. He left everything to the animal shelter instead." I handed her the will. She read it. Started screaming. Security escorted her out while my husband's friends watched. She sued for the insurance money. Lost. Judge called her morally reprehensible. Before we continue, this fictionalized case study is based on documented life insurance beneficiary disputes involving family exploitation. According to the American Council of Life Insurers, approximately 12% of life insurance beneficiary changes result in family disputes, with many involving accusations that the deceased was waiting to die for financial gain. This examines your legal right to change beneficiaries and how to protect those changes from contestation. Now let me tell you my story. The funeral director had opened the casket 10 minutes ago. My husband James lay there in his best suit, hands folded peacefully across his chest. 47 years of marriage, ended by a sudden heart attack 2 days earlier. He was 71 years old. Gone in an instant while sitting in his favorite chair reading the newspaper. I sat in the front pew of Greater Hope Baptist Church, numb with grief, surrounded by family and friends who'd come to pay their respects. The organ played softly. People filed past the casket saying their goodbyes. My son Andre stood beside the casket with his wife Monique, greeting mourners. Andre looked devastated, his eyes red from crying. He'd loved his father deeply. Monique looked impatient. She kept checking her phone, barely acknowledging the people offering condolences. She wore black, but somehow made it look like she was dressed for a cocktail party rather than a funeral. Tight dress, high heels, designer sunglasses pushed up on her head. I watched her lean over the casket, ostensibly to say goodbye to James. But then I heard her voice. Not quite a whisper, loud enough for the people standing nearby to hear clearly. "Finally. Took him long enough to die." The woman standing next to me gasped audibly. Several other people froze. I couldn't have heard that right. Surely not. Not at James's funeral. Not while his body was right there. But then Monique turned away from the casket and walked directly toward me. She had a strange smile on her face. Sympathetic but with something else underneath. Something eager. "Gloria." She sat down next to me in the pew too close. "I'm so sorry for your loss. I know this is hard." I couldn't speak. Just stared at her. "But we do need to talk about practical matters. No offense, but Andre and I have been waiting for this for years. When do we get the life insurance money?" The words didn't make sense. My husband had been dead for 10 minutes since the viewing started. His body was still warm in the casket 15 feet away. And she was asking about money. What? Monique pulled out her phone, swiping through screens like she was checking her bank balance. "The life insurance. I already called the company yesterday. They confirmed the policy, $500,000. When can we expect the check to be processed?" Mr. Patterson, the funeral director, had been standing discreetly near the back. Now he moved closer, his face a mask of professional horror. Other family members were staring. My sister Linda looked like she might be sick. James's best friend Leonard had his mouth hanging open in shock. I found my voice. Came out calmer than I felt. "There is no life insurance, Monique." Her face changed instantly. The fake sympathy vanished, replaced by confusion and something sharper. "Bigger. What? James canceled the policy 6 months ago. That's impossible. I saw the paperwork. We're the beneficiaries. 500,000. He canceled it when he overheard you on the phone telling your sister you hoped he'd die soon so you could get the money." The church went completely silent. Everyone was looking at us now. The organist had stopped playing. Monique's face went from pale to flushed. "That's a lie. I reached into my purse and pulled out an envelope. James's attorney had given it to me the day before. with strict instructions to keep it with me. He left everything to the Durham Animal Shelter instead. I handed her the envelope. Monique snatched it from my hand, tore it open, pulled out the documents. Her eyes scanned the pages, getting wider with each line. I knew what she was reading. I'd read it myself yesterday. Last will and testament of James Matthew Chambers. Regarding life insurance policy #8473922LT with Monarch Life Insurance Company. I hereby name the Durham Animal Shelter as the sole beneficiary of this policy, effective immediately. I have removed Monique Chambers as beneficiary for the following reason. On March 15, 2024, I overheard Monique tell her sister via telephone that she was waiting for the old man to die, so she could collect the life insurance money. She referred to being a daughter-in-law as an investment that was about to cash out. I do not reward those who wish for my death. My daughter-in-law Monique has made clear she values my death more than my life. She will receive nothing from my estate. Monique's hands were shaking as she read. Her face went from red to purple. Then she started screaming. This is bullshit. That money is mine. I'm his daughter-in-law. People backed away from her. Andre tried to grab her arm. Monique, please, not here. She shoved him away. Don't tell me not here. Your father stole my money. He had no right. Ma'am. Mr. Patterson approached carefully, like someone approaching a dangerous animal. I need to ask you to lower your voice. This is a funeral service. I don't care. This is fraud. You can't do this to me. She was still screaming, waving the will in the air. Several people had pulled out their phones and were recording. Mr. Patterson gestured to two security guards who'd been standing by the entrance. They moved toward Monique. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm not going anywhere. Not until... The security guards took her arms, one on each side. She fought them, twisting and pulling. I'm suing. All of you. This is illegal. You can't do this. They escorted her toward the exit, her heels scraping against the floor as she resisted. Let go of me. Andre. Andre, do something. Andre stood frozen by the casket, his face a mixture of horror and shame. The doors closed behind her, muffling but not silencing her screams. The church was utterly silent. Then James's friend Leonard sat down beside me. He was 70 years old, had known James since they were boys. Did that really just happen? He whispered. Yes. James told me what he overheard. What she said. But I didn't think she'd actually, at his funeral. She showed everyone exactly who she is. Leonard shook his head slowly. He made the right call changing that beneficiary. Mr. Patterson cleared his throat and addressed the congregation. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that disruption. If everyone could please take their seats, we'll begin the service. People settled into the pews, still whispering and looking shocked. I sat there in my black dress, my hands folded in my lap, and thought about how James would have hated this scene at his own funeral. But he also would have been satisfied that his decision had been proven right. Monique had just demonstrated, in front of a church full of witnesses, that she cared more about his money than about honoring his memory. 6 months earlier, James had come home looking shaken. It was a Saturday afternoon in March. I was in the kitchen preparing dinner when he walked in from the garage. His face was pale. His hands were trembling slightly. Gloria, we need to talk. I set down the knife I'd been using to chop vegetables. What's wrong? Are you feeling okay? I'm fine. Physically. But I overheard something. He sat down at the kitchen table heavily, like his legs wouldn't hold him anymore. I sat across from him. What happened? I was in the garage, working on that shelf. Monique didn't know I was there. She was in the driveway on the phone. And I heard her talking to her sister. She didn't know I could hear her through the open garage door. His hands clenched into fists on the table. She said she's waiting for me to die. The words didn't register at first. What? She told her sister, and I'm quoting, "Girl, I'm just waiting for the old man to die. 500,000 in life insurance." I felt cold. No. She wouldn't. Her sister asked how much longer. Monique said I'm 71, can't be much longer, I already have high blood pressure. Maybe you misheard. I didn't mishear anything, Gloria. Her sister asked what if I lived to 90. And Monique said, his voice broke. Don't even say that. I've been nice to him for 5 years waiting for this payout. I couldn't breathe. Then she laughed. She actually laughed and said, being a daughter-in-law is an investment. And I'm about to cash out. We sat in silence for a long moment. Did Andre know? Finally asked. I don't think so. He was at work. It was just her on the phone in the driveway. She thought she was alone. What are you going to do? James's jaw set in that determined way I knew well. I'm calling our lawyer first thing Monday morning. I'm changing everything. Monday morning, James went to see Richard Morrison, our estate attorney. Richard was a distinguished black man in his late 50s who'd handled our wills and estate planning for years. His office was downtown in a modern building with floor-to-ceiling windows. I went with James. I wanted to hear everything. Richard listened without interrupting as James recounted what he'd overheard. When James finished, Richard sat back in his leather chair and steepled his fingers. First, James, I'm very sorry you had to hear that. That's a terrible betrayal. What can I do about it? The good news is you have complete control over your life insurance beneficiaries. You can change them at any time for any reason. You don't need Monique's permission. You don't need to justify it to anyone. Can she contest the change? She can try. But life insurance beneficiary designations aren't like wills. The policy owner has absolute discretion. As long as you're mentally competent when you make the change, it stands. Richard pulled up James's file on his computer. Right now, you have a $500,000 policy with Monarch Life Insurance. Current beneficiary is Monique Chambers, with Andre as contingent beneficiary. I want Monique removed completely. Who would you like as the new beneficiary? James and I had discussed this over the weekend. The Durham Animal Shelter, James said. Richard raised his eyebrows. The animal shelter? I've volunteered there for years, James explained. They do good work. They save animals' lives. That money will actually help someone, help many someones, instead of rewarding a person who's waiting for me to die. I think that's an excellent choice. And frankly, it'll be very hard for Monique to argue that you were unduly influenced to benefit an animal shelter. Richard started typing. I'll prepare the beneficiary change form today. You'll need to sign it and we'll submit it to the insurance company. What about my will? James asked. Your current will leaves everything to Gloria with Andre as contingent beneficiary. Do you want to change that? No. Gloria should have everything. But I want to add a statement about why I removed Monique. Richard nodded slowly. That's wise. If Monique is mentioned by name and explicitly excluded, she can't claim you forgot about her. He pulled up a blank document. What would you like it to say? James dictated and Richard typed. I intentionally make no provision for my daughter-in-law Monique Chambers. On March 15, 2024, I overheard Monique tell her sister via telephone that she was waiting for me to die to collect life insurance money. She stated that being a daughter-in-law was an investment that was about to cash out. I do not reward those who wish for my death. That's perfect, Richard said. Clear, factual, and documenting your reasoning. What about my retirement accounts? James asked. Let me check. Richard pulled up more files. You have a 401k worth approximately $350,000. Current beneficiary is also Monique with Andre as contingent. Change it. Everything to the Durham Animal Shelter. Are you sure? That's $850,000 total you're redirecting. I'm sure. Richard made notes. All right. I'll prepare all the paperwork. But James, I need to ask. Do you have any proof of what you overheard? No. I didn't record it or anything. It was just me in the garage, her in the driveway on her phone. That could be a problem if she contests. It's your word against hers about a conversation she thought was private. I spoke up. What about other evidence? Other things she said? Richard leaned forward. Like what? She asks about the insurance constantly, I said. Every time we see her, she brings it up. How much it's worth. When we'll need it. What we'll do with the money. Have you told anyone about these conversations? James thought for a moment. My friend Leonard. I complained to him about it a few months ago. She'd asked him directly at a barbecue about the insurance policy. Could Leonard provide a statement? Probably. He thought it was inappropriate at the time. Richard made more notes. Here's what I recommend. Over the next few weeks, document everything. Every conversation where she mentions the insurance or your death. Ask Leonard to write an affidavit about what he heard. If Andre has any text messages from her about the insurance, get copies. Why? Because when you change these beneficiaries, Monique is going to lose $850,000. People don't take that lightly. If she contests, we need to show a pattern of behavior that justifies your decision. Over the next 2 months, James quietly gathered evidence. He asked Leonard to write down what he remembered. Leonard provided a detailed statement. Affidavit of Leonard Washington. On June 4, 2023, at a family barbecue at the Chambers residence, Monique Chambers approached me and said, "James is getting up there in age. At least there's good life insurance." I found this comment inappropriate and disturbing, as James was standing just a few feet away and could have heard. When I didn't respond, Monique said, "He's 70 years old. It's coming sooner than later." I told her that was not an appropriate thing to say. She laughed and walked away. James also talked to Andre. Our son was horrified when James told him what he'd overheard. "Dad, I had no idea she felt that way. I swear." "Do you have any text messages from her about the insurance?" Andre checked his phone. His face fell as he scrolled. "Here. From 2 months ago." He showed James the screen. "Monique. When your dad dies, we can finally buy that house we want in Raleigh." "Andre, don't talk like that." "Monique. I'm being realistic. He's 71. It's coming. Can I get screenshots of these?" James asked. "Of course. Dad, I'm so sorry. I'll talk to her." "Don't. Not yet. I don't want her to know I'm making changes until they're done." Andre sent the screenshots to James's email that night. James also started keeping a journal, documenting every interaction where Monique mentioned the insurance. April 3, 2024. Monique visited. Asked how I was feeling. Then asked if I'd updated the insurance policy recently. Said she wanted to make sure everything was in order. April 17, 2024. Easter dinner. Monique asked Gloria if I'd been to the doctor lately. When Gloria said I had a checkup and was fine, Monique looked disappointed. May 2, 2024. Monique called. Asked about my blood pressure medication. Then asked if the life insurance was still with Monarch or if we'd switched companies. I told her it was none of her business. She got defensive. By late May, James had compiled a substantial file. He took it all to Richard Morrison. Richard reviewed everything and nodded approvingly. "This is good. Very good. We have Leonard's affidavit, the text messages, your journal entries. This establishes a clear pattern. Is it enough?" "More than enough. If Monique tries to contest the beneficiary change, we can show that you had legitimate, documented reasons for removing her." Richard prepared all the final paperwork. James signed the beneficiary change forms for the life insurance and the retirement accounts. Signed the updated will with the explicit exclusion of Monique. Everything was witnessed, notarized, filed. "It's done," Richard said. "As of today, the Durham Animal Shelter is the beneficiary of $850,000 upon your death." James looked relieved. "Good. Thank you." "One more thing," Richard said. "Your medical records show you're in good cognitive health. But I'd recommend getting a formal competency evaluation from a doctor, just to be safe. If Monique claims you weren't mentally competent when you made these changes, we can produce medical evidence to the contrary." James went to his doctor the following week and underwent a comprehensive evaluation. Cognitive tests, memory assessments, mental status examination. The results were clear. James Matthew Chambers was fully competent, with no signs of dementia, confusion, or impaired judgment. Richard added the medical evaluation to the file. "You're protected," he told James. "If anything happens to you, Monique won't be able to touch that money." 2 months later, on a quiet Tuesday afternoon, James died. He was sitting in his favorite chair in the living room, reading the newspaper and doing the crossword puzzle. I was upstairs folding laundry. I heard a sound. A gasp maybe, or a groan. "James." No answer. I came downstairs and found him slumped in the chair, the newspaper fallen to the floor. His face was gray. "James." I ran to him, felt for a pulse. Nothing. I called 911, started CPR like I'd learned in that class years ago. Chest compressions, counting. Breathe, breathe, compress, compress. The paramedics arrived within 7 minutes. They took over, working frantically. But it was too late. He was gone. The official time of death was 3:47 p.m. Massive heart attack. Quick. Probably didn't even know what was happening. I called Andre. He arrived within 20 minutes, crying. He'd loved his father so much. Monique showed up an hour later. She walked into the house where James's body still lay on the floor, waiting for the medical examiner. Her first words, I'll never forget them, were, "Did he have the life insurance card on him? We need to file the claim right away." I was sitting on the couch, numb with shock. My husband of 47 years was dead on the floor. And she was asking about insurance cards. Monique. Andre's voice was strained. Not now. I'm just being practical, baby. These things have to be filed quickly. She actually walked over to where James lay and started going through his pockets. I watched her, unable to process what I was seeing. She found his wallet, pulled out cards looking for the insurance card. Here it is. Monarch Life Insurance. Policy number 847392. She took a photo of the card with her phone. Then she stepped into the kitchen and made a call. I could hear every word. Yes, I need to file a claim. My father-in-law just passed away. James Chambers. Policy number 84739. About an hour ago. Yes, I'll hold. Andre looked at me horrified. Mom, I'm so sorry. I just shook my head. I couldn't speak. Monique came back into the living room, still on the phone. Yes, I'm still here. 500,000. And when will the payout be processed? 10 to 14 business days. Okay, thank you. She hung up and smiled at Andre. It's all set. They'll send the forms. That night, after the medical examiner had taken James's body, after the initial shock had worn off, I told Andre what his father had done. Before your father died, he changed all his beneficiaries. What? He overheard Monique 6 months ago, talking to her sister, saying she was waiting for him to die so she could get the insurance money. Andre's face went white. No. He removed her from everything. The life insurance, the retirement accounts. All of it goes to the Durham Animal Shelter now. Oh my God. He documented everything. Her comments, the text messages, Leonard's statement. He knew she might contest it. Does Monique know? Not yet. But she will. Soon. The funeral was 2 days later. That's when Monique showed her true colors in front of everyone. After she was escorted out by security, still screaming about lawsuits and fraud, the service continued. Pastor Williams gave a beautiful eulogy about James's life. His service in Vietnam. His 47 years working as an electrician. His dedication to his family. His volunteer work at the animal shelter. People shared memories. Leonard told a funny story about fishing trips they'd taken. My sister Linda talked about how James had welcomed her into the family. Andre spoke last, his voice breaking. My father was the best man I've ever known. He taught me about integrity. About hard work. About standing up for what's right even when it's hard. He looked directly at me. And about making tough decisions to protect what you love. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand that. After the service, people came up to offer condolences. Many of them mentioned Monique's outburst. I can't believe she said that, my cousin Patricia whispered. At the funeral. Over the casket. She showed who she really is, I said simply. Leonard pulled me aside. James told me what he was planning. Changing the beneficiaries. He did the right thing. I know. That girl's been waiting for him to die for years. I've seen it. The way she'd ask about his health. The way she'd look at him when he'd complain about being tired. She was calculating. Did you tell Richard Morrison all this? I wrote it all down in an affidavit months ago. James was prepared. 1 week after the funeral, a process server came to my door. Monique was suing. Monique Chambers versus Gloria Chambers, Durham Animal Shelter and Monarch Life Insurance Company. Complaint to set aside beneficiary change and reinstate original beneficiary. I read through the legal documents with a sinking feeling. Monique's claims. James lacked mental capacity when he changed the beneficiary. Gloria unduly influenced James to change the beneficiary to punish Monique. The beneficiary change was made under duress. The change violated Monique's reasonable expectations. She was demanding the court order Monarch Life Insurance to pay the $500,000 to her instead of the animal shelter. I called Richard Morrison immediately. I just got served with a lawsuit. I know. Monique's attorney sent me a courtesy copy. Don't worry. Don't worry. She's suing for $500,000. And she's going to lose. Spectacularly. How can you be sure? Because she has no case. Life insurance beneficiaries can be changed at any time by the policy owner. James had every legal right to remove her. She claims he wasn't mentally competent. We have medical records from 2 months before his death showing perfect cognitive function. That argument won't hold. She claims I unduly influenced him. You didn't benefit from the change. The money's going to charity. There's no undue influence when the person making the change doesn't benefit their spouse. What about reasonable expectations? Richard actually laughed. That's not a legal standard for life insurance. You don't get to keep a beneficiary designation just because you expected it. James could have changed it to a complete stranger and it would still be valid. So what happens now? Now we go through discovery. Depositions. We present all the evidence of Monique's behavior. And then we win. The discovery process took 3 months. Both sides took depositions. Formal recorded testimony under oath. Monique's deposition was a disaster for her case. I read the transcript afterward. It was damning. Monique's attorney. Miss Chambers, why do you believe you should be the beneficiary of James Chambers's life insurance policy? Monique. Because I was the original beneficiary. James promised me that money. We had an agreement. Richard Morrison. What agreement? Can you show me any document where James promised you the life insurance money? Monique. It was verbal. We discussed it as a family. Richard. When did these discussions take place? Monique. Multiple times over the years. Richard. Can you give me a specific date and location? Monique. I don't remember specific dates. Richard. Did Gloria participate in these discussions? Monique. Sometimes. Richard. Gloria has stated under oath that no such discussions took place. Is she lying? Monique. She must not remember. Richard. Miss Chambers, did you tell your sister in March 2024 that you were waiting for James to die so you could collect the insurance money? Monique. No. That's a lie. Richard. James stated in his will that he overheard you say this. Was he lying? Monique. He must have misheard. Richard. Did you tell James's friend Leonard Washington that it was good James had life insurance because he was getting up there in age? Monique. I don't remember saying that. Richard. Mr. Washington has provided a sworn affidavit stating you did. Is he lying? Monique. He must be misremembering. Richard. Did you call Monarch Life Insurance on the day James died? Monique. I was trying to help the family. Richard. Did you call before or after the funeral? Monique. Before. Richard. How long after his death did you make this call? Monique. I don't know exactly. Richard. The insurance company's records show you called at 5:15 p.m. James died at 3:47 p.m. So you called less than 2 hours after his death while his widow was grieving. Is that correct? Monique. Someone had to be practical about these things. Richard. I'm showing you Exhibit 12, a text message you sent to your husband Andre. It reads, when your dad dies we can finally buy that house we want. Did you send this message? Monique. That was taken out of context. Richard. What context makes it appropriate to discuss buying a house with your father-in-law's death money while he's still alive? Monique. We were planning for the future. Richard. Planning for James to die? Monique. That's not what I meant. Richard. Miss Chambers, at James's funeral, did you lean over his casket and say, finally, took him long enough to die? Monique. No. I never said that. Richard. We have 5 witnesses who heard you say it. Are they all lying? Monique. They must have misheard. Richard. Did you demand to know when you'd get the insurance money at the funeral? Monique. I asked a practical question. Richard. While your father-in-law's body was in the casket. While his widow was grieving. Monique. It wasn't like that. It went on like that for hours. Every answer making Monique look worse. Andre's deposition was even more damaging to Monique's case. Richard. Mr. Chambers, did your wife Monique express interest in your father's life insurance policy? Andre. Yes. Frequently. Richard. Can you give examples? Andre. She'd ask how much it was worth. When we get it. What we do with the money. He brought it up constantly. Richard. Did this make you uncomfortable? Andre. Very. I told her multiple times to stop talking about it. My father was alive and healthy. It felt wrong to be discussing his life insurance like we were waiting for him to die. Richard, did she stop? Andre, no. She kept bringing it up. Richard, were you aware your father overheard her saying she was waiting for him to die? Andre, not until afterward. After he changed the beneficiaries. He told me then what he'd heard. Richard, what was your reaction? Andre, emotional. I was horrified. I apologized to him. Told him I had no idea Monique felt that way. That I didn't feel that way. Richard, did you support his decision to change the beneficiary? Andre, yes. Absolutely. If she was waiting for him to die just to get money, she didn't deserve it. Richard, are you still married to Monique? Andre, we're separated. I filed for divorce 2 months ago. The divorce should be final next month. Richard, why did you decide to divorce her? Andre, because of how she acted at my father's funeral. Demanding money while his body was right there. Screaming in the church. I realized I'd married someone I didn't know. Someone who cared more about money than about people. I also gave a deposition. It was emotionally exhausting, but I told the truth about everything. About James coming home shaken after overhearing Monique. About the evidence he'd gathered. About her behavior after his death. Richard presented all the documentation James had collected. Leonard's affidavit. The text messages between Monique and Andre. James's journal entries. The medical evaluation showing James's mental competency. James's own statement in his will. He also subpoenaed records from Monarch Life Insurance showing the exact time Monique had called to file the claim. 5:15 p.m. on the day James died, less than 2 hours after his death. And he obtained statements from 5 people who'd been at the funeral and heard Monique's comments at the casket. The trial took place 4 months after James's death. The courtroom was modern with blonde wood and high ceilings. Judge Patricia Warren presided. A black woman in her early 60s with close-cropped gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. She had a reputation for no-nonsense rulings and zero tolerance for frivolous litigation. Monique's attorney, a young man named David Chin, presented his case first. Your Honor, this case is about a vulnerable elderly man who was manipulated by his wife into cutting out his daughter-in-law, who had cared for him for years. Mr. James Chambers was 71 years old. He had high blood pressure and a family history of heart disease. He was facing his own mortality, and in that vulnerable state, his wife convinced him to change his beneficiaries. Monique Chambers had a close relationship with her father-in-law. She visited regularly, helped with household tasks, provided emotional support. Richard stood up. Objection, Your Honor. We have documentation showing Ms. Monique Chambers visited the Chambers residence exactly 4 times in the 3 years before James's death. All 4 visits included requests for money. Judge Warren looked at David Chin. Do you have evidence of regular visits and care? We have Ms. Chambers's testimony. Testimony contradicted by documentary evidence. Noted. Continue. David Chin stumbled through the rest of his argument, but Judge Warren was clearly skeptical. Then Richard presented our case. He started with James's medical records. Your Honor, these records from Dr. Marcus Thompson show that James Chambers underwent a comprehensive cognitive evaluation on May 20, 2024, 2 months before his death. The results show perfect mental function. No signs of dementia, confusion, or impaired judgment. James Chambers knew exactly what he was doing when he changed his beneficiaries. He presented Leonard's affidavit, reading it aloud. James's longtime friend Leonard Washington states that Monique Chambers told him, quote, James is getting up there in age. At least there's good life insurance. This was said at a family barbecue while James was standing nearby. He showed the text messages between Monique and Andre. These messages show Monique discussing buying a house with money from James's death, while he was still alive and healthy. He presented James's journal entries, documenting Monique's constant questions about the insurance. Then he played a recording. This is from Monarch Life Insurance Company's customer service line. They record all calls. This call was placed on the day James died. The judge listened to Monique's voice. Yes, I need to file a claim. My father-in-law just passed away. When will the payout be processed? The timestamp showed 5:15 p.m. Less than 2 hours after James's death. Finally, Richard presented statements from the funeral witnesses. 5 people, all under oath, all stating they heard Monique say finally took him long enough to die at the casket. All stating they heard her demand to know when she'd get the insurance money. Your Honor, the evidence is overwhelming. Monique Chambers wasn't a caring daughter-in-law. She was waiting for James to die so she could collect money. When James discovered this, he exercised his legal right to change his beneficiaries. He did so while fully competent, following all proper procedures, for documented and legitimate reasons. I testified, telling the story of James coming home shaken after overhearing Monique. Leonard testified, describing Monique's inappropriate comments over the years. A representative from Monarch Life Insurance testified about the proper procedures for changing beneficiaries. Policy owners can change beneficiaries at any time for any reason. Mr. Chambers submitted the properly signed and notarized forms. The change was valid under company policy and North Carolina law. Andre testified, his voice quiet but firm. My wife cared more about my father's life insurance than about my father. I supported his decision to remove her as beneficiary. It was the right thing to do. Judge Warren took 2 days to consider the evidence. Then she called everyone back into the courtroom to deliver her ruling. I have reviewed all evidence and testimony in this case. This is one of the clearest cases I've encountered in my 20 years on the bench. She looked directly at Monique. Mr. James Chambers had every legal right to change his life insurance beneficiary. He did so following all proper procedures while in full command of his mental faculties. The evidence shows he had legitimate, documented reasons for removing Ms. Monique Chambers as beneficiary. She made numerous comments about waiting for him to die. She discussed his life insurance proceeds as if they were already hers. She called the insurance company within 2 hours of his death. Most egregiously, she made disrespectful comments at his funeral while his body lay in the casket. Judge Warren's voice hardened. Ms. Chambers, your behavior is, quite frankly, morally reprehensible. You treated your father-in-law as a financial asset rather than as a person. You demonstrated that you valued his death more than his life. The law is clear. Policy owners may change beneficiaries at will. Mr. Chambers exercised that right. His decision was made while competent for valid reasons following proper procedures. The beneficiary change stands. The Durham Animal Shelter will receive the life insurance proceeds as Mr. Chambers intended. Furthermore, I am ordering Ms. Monique Chambers to pay Mrs. Gloria Chambers' attorney fees in the amount of $35,000 for bringing this frivolous lawsuit. Motion denied. Case dismissed. Monique stood up, screaming, "This is wrong. You can't do this." Judge Warren's gavel cracked like a gunshot. Ms. Chambers, control yourself or I will hold you in contempt of court. David Chin grabbed Monique's arm, pulling her back down into her chair. But Monique kept screaming, "I deserve that money. I waited years. You can't just." "Bailiff," Judge Warren said calmly. "Remove Ms. Chambers from my courtroom." 2 bailiffs approached. Monique fought them just like she'd fought the security guards at the funeral. "This isn't over. I'll appeal. I'll..." They escorted her out, her voice echoing down the hallway even after the doors closed. Judge Warren looked at Richard and me. "I apologize for that disruption. Mrs. Chambers, I'm very sorry for your loss. Your husband made a wise and legally sound decision. That decision will stand." After the trial, Andre came to visit me. He looked exhausted. The divorce from Monique was being finalized. He was living in a small apartment trying to rebuild his life. "Mom, I'm so sorry for everything Monique did." "You didn't do it. She did. But I married her. I brought her into the family. Dad died thinking I chose someone who wished him dead. Your father knew you didn't feel that way. He told me. He knew Monique fooled you too." Andre broke down crying. "I should have seen it sooner. The way she'd talk about money. The way she'd ask about the insurance. I knew it was wrong but I didn't want to believe she was that calculating. She hid it well. That's what manipulators do." "Dad was proud of you," I said. "He told me after you supported his decision to change the beneficiaries. He said you chose integrity over money. That meant everything to him. I wish I'd told him that more often. That I was proud to be his son. He knew." Over the following months, Andre and I grew closer than we'd been in years. He visited every week, helped with household repairs, spent time just talking. He was mourning his father properly now, not distracted by Monique's drama. Monique, meanwhile, couldn't let it go. She called my house repeatedly, demanding money. I deserve something. I was with that family for years. I blocked her number. She showed up at my door twice. I didn't answer. Finally, I got a restraining order. She was prohibited from contacting me or coming within 500 feet of my house. She violated it within a week, showing up at my door screaming about unfairness. I called the police. They arrested her. She spent 3 days in jail for violating the restraining order. After that, she finally stopped. The Durham Animal Shelter received the insurance money, $500,000, plus $350,000 from James's retirement accounts. Total, $850,000. The shelter director, a passionate woman named Dr. Sharon Martinez, called me in tears. Mrs. Chambers, this is the largest donation we've ever received. We can't thank you enough. It's what James wanted. He loved animals. We'd like to name our new adoption facility after him. The James Chambers Memorial Adoption Center. Would that be appropriate? I cried. He would have loved that. 6 months later, they held a dedication ceremony. The new building was beautiful, modern, spacious, filled with light. Medical facilities for sick and injured animals. Comfortable rooms for adoptable dogs and cats. An outdoor play area. Andre and I attended the ceremony together. Dr. Martinez gave a speech about James's legacy. James Chambers volunteered here every Saturday for 7 years. He walked dogs, socialized cats, helped with adoption events. He loved animals and believed they deserved second chances. His generous donation will allow us to save thousands more animals. Dogs and cats that would have been euthanized will now find loving homes. Animals that needed expensive medical care will receive it. James's legacy isn't just this building. It's every animal that walks through these doors and gets a chance at a better life. They unveiled a plaque. The James Chambers Memorial Adoption Center. In memory of James Matthew Chambers, 1952 to 2024, who believed all creatures deserve love and second chances. I stood there crying, reading those words over and over. This is what James wanted. Not to reward someone who wished him dead, but to save lives. To do something meaningful with his money. Andre put his arm around me. Dad would love this. He would. We toured the facility. Saw dogs being walked by volunteers, cats playing in sunny rooms, puppies being bottle-fed by staff. A family was in the adoption area, playing with a golden retriever mix. The little girl, maybe 7 years old, laughed as the dog licked her face. "We'll take him," her parents said. The staff erupted in applause. Another successful adoption. The little girl noticed the plaque on the wall. "Mommy, who's James Chambers?" I stepped forward before her mother could answer. "He was my husband. And he believed that animals deserve love and second chances." The girl smiled. "Just like people?" "Yes, sweetheart. Just like people." 1 year after James's death, I visited his grave. It was a beautiful autumn day, leaves turning gold and red. I brought fresh flowers, white roses, his favorite. I sat on the bench near his headstone and talked to him like I did every week. The animal shelter is thriving. They've adopted out over 300 animals since the new building opened. Dr. Martinez says they're saving lives that wouldn't have been saved before. Andre is doing well. The divorce is final. He's dating someone new, a teacher named Simone. He's kind, genuine. She asks about you, wants to hear stories about you. She never once asked about money. And Monique, she's gone. Moved to Atlanta after the trial. Andre heard she's remarried. Someone else to manipulate, I guess. You made the right choice, James. Changing those beneficiaries. I know it was hard. I know it hurt to realize Monique was just waiting for you to die. But your money is doing good now. Real good. Saving lives. Making a difference. That's what you wanted. And I'm so proud of you for having the courage to do it. I sat there for a while longer, watching the leaves drift down from the trees. Then I drove to the animal shelter for my weekly volunteer shift. I'd started volunteering there after James died. Every Saturday, just like he used to do. Today I was in the cat room, socializing the shy ones who needed extra attention. A gray tabby named Smokey curled up in my lap, purring. "You remind me of our cat Pepper," I told him. "She lived to be 19. James spoiled her rotten. A young couple came into the cat room looking nervous. We're first-time adopters, the woman said. We're not sure what we're looking for. That's okay. The right cat will find you. They wandered through the room looking at different cats. Smokey jumped down from my lap and walked directly to the man. Rubbed against his legs, meowing. The man bent down, scratched behind Smokey's ears. Smokey rolled onto his back, purring loudly. I think this one likes you, the woman laughed. I think you're right. They adopted Smokey that day. As they were leaving, the woman asked, Why do you volunteer here? My husband started volunteering 7 years ago. After he died, I wanted to continue his legacy. He must have been a wonderful man. He was. He believed in second chances. For animals and for people. That's beautiful. After they left, I stood in the empty cat room thinking about James. About the choice he'd made to change his beneficiaries. How difficult that must have been. How much it must have hurt to realize his daughter-in-law was waiting for him to die. But also how satisfied he must have felt knowing his money would go to something meaningful. Something that would actually help, not just enable someone's greed. I learned 3 important lessons from what happened. Lessons that might help someone else facing a similar situation. First, I learned the warning signs that family members are waiting for your death for financial gain, and why you can't ignore those signs even when they come from people you love. The patterns were there for years before James overheard that phone call. Monique constantly asked about the life insurance. Not once or twice, constantly. How much was it worth? When would we need it? What would happen to it? She brought it up at inappropriate times. At family barbecues. At holiday dinners. In casual conversation. She talked about James's age and health in financial terms. He's getting up there in age. At least there's good life insurance. As if his life was just a countdown to a payout. She discussed future plans based on his death. Text messages about buying a house when your dad dies. Planning for money she didn't have yet because James was still alive. She showed more interest in his health as a financial factor than as a concern for his well-being. After he had a minor health scare, she asked about the insurance before asking if he was okay. According to the American Council of Life Insurers, these are classic warning signs of financial exploitation. Constant questions about life insurance value and payout timing. Discussions of inheritance as if it's already theirs. Interest in the insured person's health only as it relates to money. Planning major purchases contingent on someone's death. Referring to caring for elderly family as an investment. If you're experiencing these patterns, trust your instincts. James heard Monique say she was waiting for the old man to die. But the truth is, the signs were there long before that phone call. Don't ignore warning signs just because they come from family. In fact, be more vigilant with family because they have the access and knowledge to exploit you most effectively. Second, I learned your absolute legal right to change life insurance beneficiaries at any time for any reason, and why understanding this right is empowering. Before working with Richard Morrison, I didn't fully understand life insurance beneficiary rules. I thought once you named someone there might be legal restrictions on changing it. I was wrong. Life insurance policy owners have complete control over beneficiary designations. You can change them whenever you want. You don't need permission from the current beneficiary. You don't need to justify your decision to anyone. You don't need a court order. The only requirements are: you must be mentally competent when you make the change. You must follow the insurance company's procedures, usually signing a form. The form must be properly witnessed or notarized. That's it. If you meet those requirements, the beneficiary change is valid. This is different from wills, which can sometimes be contested on various grounds. Life insurance beneficiary designations are contracts between you and the insurance company. The beneficiary has no legal rights to the policy while you're alive. Monique thought she had a right to that $500,000. She thought James couldn't change it. She was wrong on both counts. The law is clear. The policy owner controls the beneficiaries. Period. This means you can remove family members and name a charity instead, like James did. You can remove a spouse and name a friend. You can remove everyone and name your church, a school, an animal shelter. You can split the money between multiple beneficiaries. You can change your mind multiple times. You can even name someone you've never met as long as you follow proper procedures. The only people who sometimes can't be completely removed are spouses in community property states. But even then, there are usually ways to restructure. Know your rights. Your life insurance is your property. You control it. Third, I learned how to document reasons for beneficiary changes to withstand legal challenges, and why this documentation matters. Even though James had every legal right to change his beneficiaries, Monique still sued. She claimed he wasn't competent, was unduly influenced, acted under duress. We won because James had documented everything. His documentation included a written statement in his will explaining exactly why he removed Monique, medical records proving his mental competence, journal entries documenting Monique's inappropriate comments, witness affidavits, Leonard's statement, text messages and other communications showing Monique's behavior pattern, a timeline showing escalating financial focus. This documentation served two purposes. It showed James made a rational decision for legitimate reasons. The judge could see this wasn't a spite move or a confused decision. It was a thoughtful response to documented bad behavior. It made Monique's lawsuit fail quickly. She couldn't claim he was incompetent, medical records proved otherwise. She couldn't claim undue influence, he wasn't benefiting his wife, he was benefiting a charity. She couldn't claim he forgot about her, he explicitly excluded her and explained why. If you need to change beneficiaries for similar reasons, here's how to protect yourself. Document the behavior that's prompting the change. Keep a journal of inappropriate comments, requests for money, or statements about waiting for you to die. Get a recent medical evaluation showing mental competence. If someone might claim you were confused or incompetent, have proof you weren't. Include an explanation in your will or a separate written statement. Explain why you're making the change using factual language rather than emotional attacks. Gather supporting evidence. Text messages, emails, witness statements, anything that corroborates the behavior you're responding to. Follow all proper procedures. Use the insurance company's official forms. Get proper witnessing or notarization. Keep copies of everything. Consider telling one trusted person what you're doing and why. James told Leonard and Andre. They could testify he made the decision of his own free will. Work with an attorney who specializes in estate planning. Richard guided James through every step and made sure everything was legally bulletproof. The goal isn't to punish anyone. The goal is to ensure your money goes where you want it to go for reasons that matter to you, in a way that will withstand legal challenges. If you or someone you love is facing similar situations with family members who seem more interested in life insurance than in relationships, comprehensive resources are available. Estate planning attorneys can help you understand your rights and document your decisions. Elder law specialists can help protect you from financial exploitation. Choose documentation over wishful thinking. Choose legal protection over hoping for the best. Choose your own values over family pressure. Because I'm standing here today at peace with James's decision only because he had the courage to act on what he knew was right. Because he documented everything carefully. Because he worked with professionals who understood the law. Monique thought she was entitled to that money just for being a daughter-in-law. She thought waiting for James to die was an investment that would pay off. He was wrong. And James's money is saving animal lives instead of rewarding someone who valued his death more than his life. I'm Gloria Chambers. I'm 70 years old. And I learned that you don't have to leave money to people who wish you dead. Even family. Especially family. My husband's legacy isn't in a bank account. It's in the James Chambers Memorial Adoption Center, where hundreds of animals have found loving homes. That's what he wanted. That's what he chose. And that's what mattered. Thank you for listening. If this helps even one person stand up to family financial exploitation, then sharing our story was worth it.